And the reason is simple here. China has a lot at stakes. Unlike the United States, China's economy is deeply dependent on energy supplies passing through this narrow passage, the Strait of Hormuz. A significant portion of its crude oil and natural gas imports, it comes from the West Asia. So when Iran restrict movement in the strait, it does not just hurt global market, it directly hits Beijing. And that is why the US officials are arguing that it is China's own interest to step in and push Iran to ease its control. And at the very same time, Washington is also trying to ensure that China does not block international action. Well, at the United Nations Security Council, the US has been working to pass resolution aimed at reopening the strait and condemning Iran's action here. But for China, along with Russia, they had earlier vetoed a similar move, if you remember, arguing that it unfairly targeted Iran without addressing the role of the US and Israeli strikes that triggered the whole conflict. Now, behind the closed doors, American diplomats, they are just trying to persuade Beijing to change its stance. Even within Mr. Trump's administration, this push, it is being repeated at multiple levels. In fact, Treasury Secretary Mr. Scott Bessent, he has also urged China to play a more active role here. He made it clear that reopening the Strait of Hormuz, it is not just a regional issue, it is a global necessity. Because right now the disruption is affecting not just oil shipments but the entire supply chain across Asia. Interestingly, there are signs that China has already been quietly involved here. That's right, reports suggest that Beijing played a role in encouraging Iran to agree to a temporary ceasefire earlier. As the largest buyer of Iranian oil, China has leverage, and it appears that it has used its leverage to bring Tehran back to the negotiating table, at least briefly. But Washington believes that that's not enough. It wants China to go further and actively push for a full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. In the meantime, Mr. Donald Trump has taken a slightly more measured tone publicly. He acknowledged that China has not directly challenged the US position, but at the very same time, he continues to pressure Iran to step back. In fact, he even pointed out that China depends heavily on the oil flowing through the Hormuz, suggesting that Beijing cannot afford a prolonged disruption here. But you know what? This relationship, it's not really simple. The United States has long accused China of indirectly supporting Iran's military capabilities, specifically through dual-use components that can be used in missiles and drone program. While Mr. Trump, he has claimed that Mr. Xi Jinping, he assured him that China does not supply weapons to Iran, speculations and suspicion that remains. In fact, Mr. Trump even claimed that the US forces intercepted a vessel carrying what he described as a gift from China to Iran, though details, they were never fully disclosed. And yes, alongside diplomatic pressure, economic pressure is also being used here. The US Treasury has imposed sanctions on Chinese refineries and dozens of shipping companies accused of transporting Iranian oil. Now, these sanctions, they cut them off from the US financial system, sending a clear message that doing business with Iran, it comes at a cost.